It's time for Screen Junkies Movie Fights.
What in the world? It's Movie Fights. What's going on, everybody? Hashtag Movie Fights Live. It is all happening. We are live. We're not pre-recorded. Check it. And I got to give a shout out to hashtag Owl Nation. Hoot, hoot. Percival is in the house, and Percival is a nice little owl. And we've got a nice little Movie Fights for you. Let's go ahead and meet our combatants. First up, this gentleman is becoming a force to be reckoned with right here on Movie Fights from Hyper RPG and all over the internet, and he's quite a little shutterbug too. Beep, beep, beep.
Trying.
Cameron Rice. Cameron, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, Hal?
Good to see you, man.
I'm excited to be here. I'm not sick. I don't have the flu, which is
it's a rarity in these
taking out
parts.
some people already.
Oh yeah, it's taking out people left and right.
Yeah.
So glad you are hale and hearty and here to fight. Second up, he is the host of the Meaning of podcast. He's been here, showed his skills on the Movie Fights many a time. Welcome back to the party, Ace Cabrera.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Oh, great having you. And are you feeling it? Are you ready to do battle?
I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win one of these days.
All right.
I'll win.
You know what? You've got a 1 in 3 chance today.
Yeah, I do.
And also wearing a Batman shirt.
I do.
So we got Ace, Billy, Cameron. You didn't get the memo?
No, I messed up real bad.
That would have been fun if our 3 movie fighters randomly showed up in Batman gear.
Yeah.
Billy Biz Patterson, William Business, how are you, good sir? Usually producing or SJ Newsing, but today you're movie fighting.
I'm here. Get well soon, Ed. I'll try to win this one for you, buddy. Yeah, definitely super prepared for today's fight, as always. But you know what? Last 2 times I fought, I did lose. But I lost to 2 former Movie Fights champions. I lost to Dan and I lost to Cucumber. So maybe today's my day.
Some call that a badge of honor. Some call that an excuse. Just kidding.
Wow.
2 great fighters.
Holy smokes.
I think that's what I get for dogging you last time.
Billy,
Savage.
It's great to have you across the table. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
And deciding the fights will be myself and the folks on the Dan Cam. Dan Murrell will be weighing in with his opinions and giving us the factualities. Dan, what's going on, my friend?
Oh, nothing, Hal. I'm glad to be not fighting. I had a hard fight last week.
Oh, you did. That was a grueling fight. Greg
was.
Alba, he pushed you on every question, but you emerged, retaining the title belt, emerging the champion.
I
Nicely
did.
done.
I had 2 title fights in 3 days, Hal. I had this one on Thursday, and I had a Schmodown one on Saturday. Which
the crazy Schmodown in New York.
Which it hasn't aired yet, so I won't say what happened. But the 2 big fights in 3 days. That's a lot of fighting, Hal.
Man. I'm glad you're still here tell the tale.
Ready to check some facts.
Hell yeah. Thank you, sir. And the voice of the people, the one and only Danielle Radford. Danielle, would you please favor them with what you'll be doing?
Yeah, so I am the voice of the people. I am y'all. We will be having polls that go up for every round. They go up after the initial arguments have begun because we want these to be based on the arguments. You can also change them. Your vote if something happens and someone sways you more over to their side. If you are looking for instructions on how to use the YouTube polls, they should be down in the description below. There are other really fun polls that happen on Twitter and people start their own. Those are great, but the only one that counts is this. And that poll is our tiebreaker. So in the case that these 2 gentlemen cannot agree, and then we, the people, shall decide. If it winds up being a 3-way tie, then I get my own vote. Also, I will be checking on Movie Fights Live, the hashtag on Twitter. Please join in there. You guys always have the best ideas, theories, alternate answers, great explanations, great jokes. So go into and get active on the Movie Fights Live hashtag because I may shout you out on the show.
Oh, hell yeah. It's always fun when, you say one of the answers and I'm like, how come none of y'all thought of that one, you know? Also, we love when you send us really stupid memes.
Please send us the dumbest of memes.
Yes, please. Once again, how the show works, the first person to 4 points will walk out of here the winner. There are 3 regular round questions, and the top 2 scorers after those 3 rounds head over to the speed round. And the speed round's anybody's game. Someone can be up 3-0, and the other player can make a furious comeback in the speed round. I don't think there's any more to say. Y'all ready for this?
Let's do it.
JTE, please drop that sick-ass package.
Prepare to die. Ladies and gentlemen,
It's main event time.
Thank you, Thor. All right, here we go. You know what? Ace and Billy's shirts are apropos with this first question. Ben Affleck, he's out. Batfleck, bye-bye. Fly in the coop. So we ask, who should play Bruce Wayne / Batman in 2021's The Batman? Ooh, man. Man, that's going to be big news when it drops. Maybe we have a precursor to that right here. First up, Cameron.
Going with an answer here that he was boundied about before, not that long ago, when there was talk that Affleck might not be taking the role back, that it might be its own separate universe, all that other stuff. I am going with Oscar Isaacs, an actor who's shown to be very versatile. He's got that dark, brooding quality to him, but there's a list of films where he's shown many different sides, and like the Batman has many different sides as well. I think if we look at movies like Drive or Ex Machina, you can see the determined, broken down person, which we've seen within Bruce Wayne. If we look at someone like Poe Dameron, we see a kind of character that could take on Robins and Nightwings and be a valiant leader as he is with Finn in that movie. And if we look at something like Inside Llewellyn Davis, you might see a broken, sad, brooding man, which we've often seen Batman be as well. I think Oscar Isaacs has shown all the qualities, what it would take to be a different kind of Batman for multiple Batman films.
Okay, the many sides of Oscar Isaac. Ace.
Yes, so when thinking about this question, I was thinking about who's an up-and-coming, rising action star who can deliver the physicality that we know that Batman has. I went with that, and then I went with someone who can carry this franchise to the future. They want a young Batman for this 2021 Batman, so I went with a young Bruce Wayne who I feel that can embody the physicality of Batman, and that is Dylan O'Brien. Most people know him from the Maze Runner movies. If you've seen American Assassin as well, you know that this guy is a bona fide action star. He can do the martial arts, he can do his own stunts. He even almost got killed doing a stunt with the Maze Runner movies. That's how committed he is as an actor. He can carry the franchise to the future, and I think he can give a lot as far as his Bruce Wayne persona as well.
Thank you, Ace. Billy Biz.
Okay, so we want to take Batman younger. I think we all agree. But one thing I feel like Batman has been missing since the days of Michael Keaton, I want my Batman, a Batman who I can look at and see a little bit of crazy in there. Because I think Batman is the best when you understand that he is, in some ways, just one hair away from the line of crossing over to the other side. And I think the guy that could do both, now follow me on this,
okay,
because I think it's going to be a little strange, but follow me on this. I think the guy that you want to do this is Zachary Quinto. Now, I know that, look at that face. Now, first of all, when I think of what Batman looks like, and I see a photo like that, that makes me think of Greg Capullo, Scott Snyder, that Batman, that Court of Owls, that little bit younger Batman. But we've seen from Zachary Quinto, not only can he carry a franchise like he has with Star Trek, and be a character that we can get behind, but also we've seen how with a character like Sylar in Heroes, where he can be a little bit, you don't really know where he falls. There were times on that show where he was just like, what are you doing? And then there were other times where you're like, I get where you're coming from. I get that pain. I understand. He can play all of that crazy. And I think when we're talking about a young Batman, that's one thing that we haven't really delved into, is this could be a Batman that needs to find those limits of what makes him a hero versus just another one of the crazy people in Gotham. And I think the person that could nail that is Mr. Quinto. A beefed up Mr. Quinto.
Beefy Quinto.
Beefy Quinto.
Beefy Quince.
Okay.
Cheesy Gordita, Beefy Quinto.
On that note, let's fight it out.
Let me start out by saying this. The elephant in the room.
Yes.
Okay.
You guys picked two 40-year-olds to play Batman when they want a younger Batman. We already had the Ben Affleck Batman. We already have the old grizzled Batman. Oscar Isaac is currently 39. Zachary Quinto is 41.
He's beautiful.
These
You
are
look at that man,
40-year-old men.
he's a beautiful man.
What fountain of youth is Zachary Quinto sipping out of? My God,
He's still
that
40
is
years
the
old.
face of a man who is ready to go. He is
To me,
ready.
the elephant in the room room would be you picked a very young-looking man, and I understand they are looking for a young Batman, but I want them to make a good movie. I'm not saying this actor wouldn't do a good job; he probably would do a very good job. But I think also you guys picked two actors who, at this point, have shown they're very good at The Brood. But there's more sides to Batman than that. My favorite Batman, personally, is the animated series Batman. What I love about that Batman is his Bruce Wayne, when he's out in public, is kind of aloof, kind of like he's a good social kind of guy, but at the same time is a little like doesn't seem to quite get it. I think the last couple Batmans we've seen a lot of broody, dark Batman. Oscar Isaac can do dark and broody, but I think with Poe Dameron, Oscar Isaac can also be that kind of fun, aloof Bruce Wayne. You could see this guy out in public, dating models, and people would believably would be like, well, this guy's not Batman. I think even if you just look at Oscar Isaac in Drive and then who he is as Poe Dameron are two completely different types of characters, on top of the fact that this means this Batman could also be Matches Malone. You can have a Batman who goes in disguise as a different looking guy. Zachary Quinto is always going to look like Zachary Quinto.
I'm with you. I'm actually kind of with you as far as I can see Oscar Isaac as playing a Bruce Wayne. I do not see him playing any kind of Batman whatsoever.
Ex Machina.
The guy is 5'6". The guy's tiny. I mean,
let us not do that. Let's not Hugh Jackman.
No.
You're good if you're good.
Part of Batman's character, part of what makes Batman Batman is his physicality.
How tall is your guy? How tall is your guy?
My guy's 6 foot tall. Dylan O'Brien. He's a beast. He's done movies like this before. An American Assassin.
Fact check that, Dan.
We see him playing a
Dan's probably a step
military
ahead.
vet. We see him playing a guy who's grizzled, who can fight, who can throw down, who can actually be physically intimidating. Both of your guys is Oscar Isaac is tiny and Zachary Quinto is like you just said, beefed up. It's like the guy is so scrawny. And on top of that, at least I could see a little bit of charm. I don't see any charm with Zachary Quinto.
Quinto would be a great Riddler.
So first of all,
Lex. I could see a Zachary Quinto Lex.
First of all,
that's a good casting, but not as Batman.
First of all, I watched American Assassin and I looked at the screen and said, "What a great Batman!" And I was referring to Michael Keaton. Because Dylan O'Brien, he's just not that good, and his movies prove it. The Maze Runner, no one was saying in the reviews for something like Maze Runner, like, look, this movie is garbage, but Dylan O'Brien really...
That's what everyone was saying.
It doesn't exist.
I saw a lot of those reviews.
Then why isn't Dylan O'Brien a bigger name? Why isn't he booking these bigger roles?
Because he almost got killed during the Maze Runner.
You almost died. We cannot put you in this romantic comedy.
He was hurt for a year and a half.
But
he actually was out of commission.
The ability to do his own stunts, unless you're Tom Cruise, is kind of... It has nothing to do with being Batman. But here's what I will say. Zachary Quinto is too scrawny. I mean, you could have said the same thing about Christian Bale coming off The Machinist. I think that building the physique is I know I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but that's kind of the easy part of this. You can build the body.
Sure.
The body's there. What you can't build is you can't take the charm of the actor. You can't take the mystique of the actor.
Those are two things that Zachary Quinto doesn't have.
Zachary Quinto absolutely has the mystique. You were saying earlier about Batman being this guy, this aloof person who maybe doesn't quite know how to fit in. I mean,
well, the public persona of Bruce
exactly,
Wayne.
But look at how Spock is. That Spock is the ultimate detective of space. That's exactly what we already know, that he can deliver those lines. He can deliver the detective part while also bringing kind of the unhingedness of Sylar. But we also know that he has the humanity.
Well, that's
too.
why I think, to me, Zachary Quinto is great casting for a Batman movie as Red Hood.
No, I don't see it.
I still like my casting
of
of Zachary Quinto as Lex. I think that's a good idea. I think everything you said about Spock is like perfect. He's very stoic, he's smart, he's intellectual, but he's not charming, he's not likable, he's not a guy you want to hang around with that Bruce Wayne has.
Versus Quinto. I think
he might be great. He's apparently a great producer. He knows how to pick a movie.
I think he holds that entire 3 movies together of the Maze Runner movies. I think everything is based on him, not just his action scenes, but also his charm, his likability, his ability to lead, because throughout those entire 3 movies, he's a leader throughout those movies.
Well, my problem is I think he went a little too young. To me, we're veering on Gotham territory here, because the big thing about Bruce Wayne is that he comes back at an age where he can be like the man out and about, and however old Dylan O'Brien actually is.
Yeah, I was going to say, the guy's almost 30.
However old he actually is, he does read more like, and I think that's why he can still play teenagers in young adult films, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want a kind of a Batman who, basically, I was talking about it before the show started, about movies that feel like prequels to the actual movies, and I'm worried about the casting of Dylan O'Brien will be like, here's the Batman movie you're going to get in Batman 2.
But here's another problem that I think you brought up prequels with Oscar Isaac. I do think that if you were to put Oscar Isaac side by side with Ben Affleck's Batman, it's very similar. And I think that DC, I think their best move right now is to not try to kind of make it seem like, oh yeah, this was kind of maybe the younger version of Ben Affleck. I think you just go a completely different direction.
Well,
because
I'm not saying they portray him as a younger Ben Affleck.
But the comparisons are going to be there because
I think the comparisons are going to be there for both because they're both 40-year-old middle-aged men. I think we've seen this before. We've seen
he looks
every
good.
single Batman we've seen has been a middle-aged guy. Let's go younger. Let's go to a younger Bruce Wayne. Let's actually pass the torch to a new generation who can give a new Batman franchise. Also, this movie's taking place in 2021. I mean, it's not like we're talking about next week that this comes out.
Sure.
This is for the future of the Batman franchise. This could go on 10 years. Who better to do this than a young and up-and-coming action star like a Dylan O'Brien?
I just don't trust Dylan O'Brien. He has shown me nothing so far that gives
You told
me
him
any
secrets. He
sort
told
of...
everybody.
I think he's
I got
giving me
really
everything.
burned by...
Was Billy
scorched
betrayed
me.
by Dylan O'Brien? We'll find out in final thoughts, perhaps. And let's start our final thoughts off with Cameron. Go for it.
I understand what everybody's saying about the age number on Oscar Isaacs, but what I would say to that is that man is not a man who looks like he's 40. Poe Dameron is not struggling to run to his X-Wing by no means. That's a very in-shape man. And also, to me, I think it's not a bad idea to finally have someone of color playing Batman. Change it up. This would be the 5th or 6th cinematic iteration of Batman. Give me something a little new.
All right, thank you, Cameron. Were you channeling Elaine from Seinfeld right there? Thank you, sir. Ace.
I think Dylan O'Brien has proven to people throughout not just the Maze Runner movies, but every other movie he's been a part of, that not only does he bring that physicality, that action star quality that you want to see in a Batman. You want to see that physicality regardless of what anyone says. That's what the general movie-going audience wants to see. I think Dylan O'Brien brings that, but he also brings an amount of youthfulness, an amount of charm, and if you want to see something different, let's give it to an actual young Batman. When they say young, let's go young. Let's go with someone who can bring a new franchise to the future. Let's not just go with the average 40-year-old guys all over again, as we've seen from the past so many years of Batman movies. We see the same thing over and over again. Let's give it to a young person who can bring this franchise to the future, and that's why I chose Dylan O'Brien.
Thank you, Ace.
Oscar Isaacs is average? Tell me, Internet.
Billy Biz.
I mean, Cameron, you said you want something new. I feel like you're just you're making a lateral move here with Oscar Isaacs. Except I don't think he can pull off the darkness. I don't think Poe Bataman can be as dark as you think that he can. I just don't think that I don't think he's got it. I think you're just basically you're kind of like it feels like dollar store Ben Affleck. It feels like you're just trying to find something that kind of looks like it. Squint, maybe Ben Affleck, but it's not. I think with Dylan O'Brien, look, I get where you're coming from, and I don't even think it's wrong to say like let's go for an up and comer. But I think the problem is you put your money on someone that has a proven track record of not delivering. I don't really know who Dylan O'Brien is. I don't really care who Dylan O'Brien is. I've heard nothing about like, oh man, all these movies are hot garbage fires, but Dylan O'Brien sure looked like a star. And that happens with a lot of movies that aren't great, but they're good performances. I don't think that's your guy. Zachary Quinto is someone that's unexpected, and we've seen when you get the unexpected casting sometimes with comic book movies, at first you're just like, this makes no sense, I don't get it. We got it with Michael Keaton, but I think Zachary Quinto would be one of those ones where you see the picture 6 months into filming and he's buffed up and he's working out and you're like, I see it now. I see the pathos, I see a little bit of the crazy there, but I also see a little bit of the humanity. I see where the story could be going. I see an actor who has proven that he can carry a franchise. I think Zachary Quinto is somebody that, when you think about it more, it makes sense.
Time. There you go. 3 different Batmen. 1 fact checker. Dan Murrell.
Lots of little things.
Yeah.
The first thing, there was many references to Oscar Isaacs. It's Oscar Isaac.
Singular.
Although an army of Oscar Isaacs, I think, would be delightful.
People can dream.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be a lot of great movies coming out of that. Oscar Isaac, currently 39 years old. Zachary Quinto, currently 41 years old.
Looks
Dylan
great.
O'Brien, currently 27 years old.
Oh, he's a young
If we're looking canonically, Batman, at one time in Batman Year One, was stated as being 25 years old when he started becoming Batman. However, with the new 52, a lot of the old mythology has been washed away. But between 25 and 30 is generally considered the age around which he became Batman. Height was brought up. Oscar Isaac is officially, these are official listings, are officially listed as 5'9". Dylan O'Brien officially listed at 5'10", and Zachary Quinto at 6'1".
Yeah, buddy.
And then
That guy's taller.
age was brought up. If we're looking at cinematic Batman ages, Ben Affleck was the oldest. He was about 43 years old. Michael Keaton and Adam West were both around 38. Val Kilmer and George Clooney were right around 36. And Christian Bale was the youngest cinematic Batman. He was right around 31 when Batman Begins came out.
I'm surprised George Clooney was only 36 because George Clooney has been like he went from like ER to just 50 forever for me.
That's salt and pepper.
It
That's
makes
salt
me
and
feel
pepper.
bad because Val Kilmer and George Clooney were both Batman by 36, and I'm 36, which means I failed because I'm not Batman.
Oh no! If that's the measuring stick, we've all failed.
I thought that I would maybe beat Kilmer to Batman, but I have not.
Use the Affleck stick. The Affleck stick.
I know, right? I gotta go by the
Yeah, there you
Affleck
go.
measure.
Thank you, Dan. So, yeah, I thought there were solid arguments all around. I thought Cameron listed a lot of the qualities, the brooding, the valiant leader, and even more brooding with Llewyn Davis. Billy, I love that you brought up like Spock as the ultimate space detective, and I think we should have, a Star Trek movie, Mr. Spock, Space Detective. But at the end of the day, I hate to hate on my own middle-aged men, but I thought Ace really started to paint an exciting picture of a different Batman that we have not seen before, and I didn't want to like your answer. I went into this not thinking the Maze Runner would be a good Batman, but at the end of the day, I came out thinking, you know what? That's the Batman I want to see out of these three. So I'm going Ace. Dan.
Yeah, I think Ace was fighting from a position of strength here because it is the young Batman, and he was correct that they did pick both actors that were very near the age of the previous Batman that we've seen. And I felt like Billy was the one that went hardest in on Dylan O'Brien, but they were all very subjective arguments. It was just like, well, I've never heard of this guy, and I don't know him, and that's true, but that's not really a very strong argument for why, inside of the game, I shouldn't choose Dylan O'Brien. So I'm also going with Ace. I just felt like he was up against two very samey answers, and he had kind of a fresher take on it. I think that was a powerful position, and nothing that I heard swayed me off of that. So I'm going to go with Ace.
Right on. Ace, you're taking the point in that round. Danielle, what'd the polls say? Another Batman, etc.?
All right. So at 49%, we had Zachary Quinto. At 32%, Oscar Isaacs. 17% for Dylan O'Brien. Other names that were thrown around. Someone threw out a Jason Dohrig, which deep cut. I like it. We also got John Hamm and Adam Driver, John Barenthal, Idris Elba, Charlie Cox, Will Arnett, which could be really interesting. Armie Hammer, Rami Malek, Mahershala Ali. And then one that I really liked on Twitter, David Pockets 90. Round one, Jack Houston has been tossed around for Bruce Wayne / Batman, and he's my pick. He's incredible as the sniper, mob enforcer in Boardwalk Empire, and just has the class about him. He's a phenomenal actor who deserves a bigger audience. I agree with all of those things, and I think that he would be able to pull off the duality of a Bruce Wayne Batman.
Right on. Thank you for breaking it down for us, Danielle. So going into question number 2, it is Ace 1, Billy, Cameron, looking to get on the board. Here we go. Sticking with something Warner Brothers-y related, the WB is developing a Funko movie based on the famous vinyl toy. You guys know what Funko Pops are. You probably got some sitting right next to you as you watch movie fights. What director could make a Best Picture contender, or just the best Funko movie? Man, that'd be crazy if a Funko movie was a Best Picture contender. But we ask, who'd make the best Funko movie? And we're going to start with player number 2 for question number 2, Ace.
I chose these two directors who everyone laughed and everyone scoffed at the idea when it was brought up before with the Lego movie, and that is Phil Lord and Chris Miller. These guys are two directors who have proven time and time again through animated features, through comedies, through any type of movie, everything they touch has been gold. The Lego movie was incredibly delightful. They were able to take a toy and make it an actual fun movie that everyone can enjoy. They did it with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They brought so much joy in 21 and 22 Jump Street. And they did it again with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is probably going to win the Oscar this year. I say the best bet is Lord and Miller because they have that proven track record of making great animated features.
Thank you, Ace. Billy Biz.
I think with something like Funko Pop, your mind immediately goes to what is something that kind of worked in that sense, and that's why I totally understand your pick. I even thought about it myself, but I wanted to go a step further and think, okay, so what else could work? What could set Funko Pop aside different? And I think someone who could bring comedy, because I think you can't do something like this without comedy, but also bring some other aspects to it outside the box is none other than Jordan Peele. I think Jordan Peele showed us not only can he do something like Get Out, which was disturbing but funny and all these different genres mixed together, but tell it in a fresh, new way. This is a voice that all of us really want to hear right now. I mean, just the trailer alone for this horror movie that he's doing, maybe if it was another director, we wouldn't even know that Us was a movie coming out, but it's Jordan Peele's new movie, and already it has a prestige behind it that a lot of other movies don't have. And I think you hear that Jordan Peele is going to do Twilight Zone, you hear he's going to do these projects, you immediately already are like, okay, maybe I wasn't excited before, but if he's going to do it, I want to see what Jordan Peele will do. And I think he could actually take a concept like Funko Pops and make it something.
Thanks, Billy. Back around to Cameron.
So I wanted to go in a different direction with something like this, because obviously the idea is to maybe make a comedic, animated style movie, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I wanted to see if we can maybe switch it up, change it up a little bit. I'm going with Guillermo del Toro. A man who loves himself some collectibles, who loves himself some toys, but always finds the sadness and the beauty within all of those things. We've all been to the Target or the Hot Topic or anything like that where you see there's a bunch of Funkos and there's the one character that's consistently there. There's 18 of a character from Stranger Things or anything like that. What's that character's story? It's Toy Story meets Funko meets this lonely, sadly toy trying to find a home. And I think the person who does that story, and because again, the question is about Best Picture winner. This guy won Best Picture, Best Director last year. I think Guillermo del Toro making the Funko Pop movie, you got a chance.
All right, fight it out, y'all.
So I think with Guillermo del Toro, to me, I think where he really shines is his imagination.
100%.
And when he can control the production design, what these things look like, he can go big with these monsters, these fantasy. His imagination is just so rich.
Yes.
And I feel like with something like Funko Pops, he's going to be a little limited to what the Funko Pops actually are, and I don't feel like a Funko movie is the best use of Guillermo del Toro, and I think that's where he's going to fall. Now, for Lord and Miller, I think, again, like I said, that was even my first thought immediately, but they've already done that movie. They've already taken their stance, and honestly, I don't know. I just don't. With Lord Miller, you hear these horror stories of what they were gonna do with Han Solo and how it turned out to be a big misfire.
Because we never saw what it could have been. It could have been a great, awesome movie.
But if you come in and you can't work with these other filmmakers, I'm just gonna. I don't know. I think that they could. I think they could deliver another great Lego movie. But I don't want another great Lego movie. I have the Lego movie. I'm tired of the Lego movie.
Well, and I'll also say Lord and Miller produced the Spider-Verse. They did not direct it, but
also wrote.
One of them wrote it.
Yeah,
one of them wrote it. 100%.
Spider-Man.
But to your response, to my response to the Guillermo del Toro being creative and things like that, I think there's a great merchandising opportunity if they let him create his own Funkos, and you can call it Ugo Funko, and he has his own line of toys, and they are made for this movie. They launch out of this film. And much like Toy Story, like the characters that Sid created, what if this movie was about those kinds of creations? These insane, weird-looking toys that no one wants to buy, and Guillermo del Toro gets to tell the story of the sad toy who's just trying to find a way out of a Hot Topic.
I think part of it too we have to realize is that what makes Funko Pops so popular is the IP. It's buying stuff that I already know and love. Who can take these characters that we already know and love? They've been rumored: Deadpool, Wonder Woman, Darth Vader. Who better than actual fans who know these characters well? If I want someone to write Deadpool besides the writers of Deadpool, who better than Lord and Miller? They've already proven that they have incredible comedy chops. They can bring heart and humor into their movie. With the Lego Movie, with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and as I said before, Phil Lord wrote Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, an incredible movie that had both heart and humor. They're able to take properties that we already know, whether it's Spider-Man, whether it's Han Solo, whether it's Batman as Lego Batman in the Lego Movie, all these characters we know and love. Lord and Miller have proven that they can do that in an Oscar-worthy movie, because like I said before, it's probably going to win the Oscar this year, and it should have won when the Lego Movie won.
What I like about Lord and Miller, though, is that every new movie is a different, interesting choice. I think all of our directors have different, interesting choices as their next movie. I think if it was announced Lord and Miller were doing Funko, I would feel a degree of like, oh, well, there's 2 years we're not going to get a new, interesting, different Lord and Miller movie.
The question is best contender for best picture of an Oscar.
Yeah, and
I don't think Lord and Miller. I love Lord and Miller. I don't think you're getting that.
Like a fun, different movie. It's the movie that you most think is going to win an Oscar, and I think it's going to be
Spielberg.
Lord and Miller.
But
for an animated feature.
You keep saying Lord and Miller are going to probably get one for Spider-Verse, but again, that's not Lord and Miller proper. If you want to say Lord and Miller couldn't even get the Oscar,
that's actually not the case, because they would take the Oscar because they're the producers of the movie and the writers.
Lord Miller couldn't even get the Oscar for Lego Movie, and you're saying this is if they're just gonna, oh yeah, I can do the Lego Movie, let's have pop. Well, they didn't win for Lego, so there goes the chances of.
Well, they're not going to win for Spider-Man? I think they're totally going to win for Spider-Man. I think it's the clear front runner. I think they should have won for Lego Movie.
Is the question about general Oscar? Because if so, we could go talk to David Ayer about Suicide Squad.
I just said, no, it says Best Picture Contender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who better to do that than directors who have proven they can take IP, stuff that all nerds like, and make it funny, make it relatable, and have a lot of heart and humor. I think if we're going to pick the directors that have that, the best in that case, it is Lord and Miller. Also, it's animated movies. What has Guillermo del Toro done? Shape of Water was an R-rated, weird
he produced
fish movie.
He produced Book of Life. Was it called, Dan?
I really do feel like Guillermo del Toro lights in creating original characters, original stories, original R-rated stuff, not fun animated movies that can be relatable for people of all ages.
The question was not about fun animated. The question was about Best Picture Contender. And I'll also say Blade 2 is the best Blade movie of the three Blades.
I agree with that.
But here's the thing.
And Jordan Peele has given us one movie so far. As great as he is, I love Jordan Peele, and Get Out was my favorite movie that year. But it's one movie, and he wants to do social horror movies.
Well, Billy,
he said himself.
My question is,
I want to do social horror movies.
But how do you know that that's not what his take on Funko would be? That's what I'm saying.
Good. My question is going to be, what is the movie?
I think Jordan Peele could bring something. I think this could be, and I don't want to pitch it as this is the exact story, but I think it could have something akin to like a Gremlins, where it's kind of like this horror-esque take. It's this different take. It's something that we're not getting from this onslaught of Lego movies. And I think what Jordan Peele has proven, and yes, he's had one movie, one very successful movie, one Oscar-nominated movie, but also let's not discredit that this guy also had a couple seasons of Key and Peele behind him, one of the funniest sketch shows of all time. The guy knows how to write comedy. He also knows how to write kind of dark, twisted things that make you think. And honestly, when I think of a Funko Pop, Spencer said it the other day, I see these soulless, weird black-eyed little creatures.
And that's where Guillermo del Toro finds the beauty of it.
That's coming from a point of view of people who don't like Funko Pops. As someone who likes Funko Pops and collects Funko Pops, I'm going to say to you that I like the properties, I like the IP, I like the characters that I like.
But again, I'm not.
I don't want to
projecting...
see a dark, twisted. I don't want to see a creepy Guillermo del Toro.
Not creepy, lovable. Do you think they're monsters?
I'm not projecting my own view of what I think this movie should be, but what I'm saying is Jordan Peele can handle anything you throw at him. If you want fun and cute and super funny on the level of like like a 21 Jump Street or Lego movie, we know that that Jordan Peele is up for the task. If you want to take it a little bit darker and make it stand out and unique, we also know that Jordan Peele's up to the task. I don't think that Guillermo del Toro, I think he can do the big imagination stuff. I don't think that if you wanted it to be fun and funny, I don't think he's going to hit
Let's shift gears into final thoughts here.
Sure.
Final thoughts, and we'll start with Ace. Give us your final thoughts.
My final thoughts are, this question was who can make the best picture contender. Lord and Miller have proven, not just by writing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but by producing Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and finding the talent to create an incredible animated movie that's probably going to win the Oscar this year. They've proven it with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, making a remarkable, fun animated film, and they've proven it with the Lego movie. These guys are able to handle heart and humor so well, and what makes the Funko Pops, what everyone likes about them, is the IP. It's stories that you can relate to. Who better to take characters like Deadpool, characters like Darth Vader, characters like Wonder Woman, and make him fun, charming, relatable, funny, something that kids can enjoy because they say, hey, look, that's Deadpool. Hey, look, that's Wonder Woman. I like those characters. Then Lord and Miller. Outside of Disney, the animated movies that have stood out the most are created by Lord and Miller. These guys are giants at creating fantastic animated features, and that's why they're my choice.
Thank you, Ace. Billy?
I think that if Lord and Miller were to take over the Funko Pop the way that you just described it in your final closing arguments, you're just getting another reheated version of the Lego movie, and the Lego movie didn't win Best Animated Picture. I think that it was groundbreaking for what it was, but I think if they take their approach and just do it to a different packaging, just moving it from Lego toys to Funko toys, they're just doing the same thing, and I think it's going to grow tired on people. I mean, the reviews for Lego Movie 2 are already coming in, and people are like, okay, I get it. I think with Guillermo del Toro, whenever he tried to really dig into IP, the fans really liked it, but if we're talking about Best Picture stuff, it wasn't Blade, it wasn't Hellboy that got him on the map. It was when he was able to let go with his full imagination with Shape of Water, and I just don't think that someone like Guillermo del Toro is going to deliver a satisfying Funko Pop movie. I think what you want with this Funko Pop movie is someone that understands the potential humor there, that understands how you could use that IP, someone that understands how this could be something original. And right now, one of the most original filmmakers that we have is Jordan Peele. He elevates everything that he is attached to. Twilight Zone, how many reboots have there been where we're just like, okay, I guess they're doing that again. But the minute they said Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone, we all took notice. I think you attach Jordan Peele to this, you immediately know that you're going to get something fresh, something out of the box, and I think that could take a concept like Funko Pops, which we all rolled our eyes at, and 10 years from now we could be like, man, you remember that awesome Funko Pop movie?
We'll see about that. Cameron?
So the question was about Best Picture. Now let's take Shape of Water out of the equation. You also have Pan's Labyrinth, and you also have Devil's Backbone, and we're talking about things, respecting the things that fans are into. He did do Blade 2, he had Hellboy, 2. Pacific Rim was its own thing, but it was also playing on the fandom of giant kaiju creatures and robots. I think a person who can take a concept, an idea, and making sure it's both respectful to the fans, but also something that's moving and something the Academy would be into, and meld those two things together, is Guillermo del Toro. The Lord and Miller movie, the minute it's pitched, I see it in my head. I know exactly what that movie is. I don't know what the Jordan Peele movie is. That's certainly interesting, but nothing I have seen so far has shown me he is geek-friendly, for lack of a better term. I think the best option of these three options, who's going to give you a Best Picture and make fans happy, is Guillermo del Toro.
Bam, there's the end of that round. Dan,
Yes.
please favor us with facts and go ahead and give us your thoughts on the question as well.
Factually, yes, Guillermo del Toro did produce The Book of Life, which was an animated film. Should Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, Lord and Miller will receive an Oscar as producers of the film, along with the directors. And there is actually, of the three directors, there is a Guillermo del Toro Funko Pop that exists. So
It wasn't in the argument, but still.
if the question was which of these directors has a Funko Pop, then Cameron wins. However, I do feel like of the three, his was the one that I was able to eliminate. I just felt like that he was argued against very strongly, and everyone actually argued their choices really, really well in this round. but Guillermo was the one I had to get rid of first and sort of set aside. So it became between Ace and Billy for me. And I think that much like the last round, I think Ace was kind of arguing from a position of power, but both Cameron and Billy sort of chipped away at him, and I think Billy had a very strong closing argument for Jordan Peele. The fact that he could produce something that you look back on that could be really memorable, really special. I think that he swatted back against people saying that he could not deliver something of that caliber, that he has the experience writing comedy, not just Get Out. So my vote in this round goes to Billy.
Thank you, Dan. One for Billy. Yeah, I saw it a little bit differently. I agree that Ace was arguing from a position of power here, because it's like, oh yeah, it's a no-brainer, make it that. But then it's like, oh yeah, I thought he got knocked down. That do we want it? That exact, like, it wouldn't be obviously the exact same thing, but it started to feel a little too samey, and just that taste in my mouth got samey. I don't know what that means, but you know what I mean. And so it came down to Billy and Cameron for me, and I actually I thought Cameron hit these like these specific feelings of the story. I really love like the lonely Funko that wasn't sold, the Uggo Funko thing. It just started to like, and then I pictured Guillermo lending some soul, the kind that he does, and he has dealt with popular IPs before. So yeah, by a little bit, I thought Billy made a good argument for Jordan Peele, but Cameron spoke to me the most, so I have to go with Cameron. So let's go to Danielle.
All right, with the people's vote, we have 37% for Jordan Peele, 36% for Lord and Miller, and Guillermo del Toro with 25%.
Wow, that's
Boom.
Yeah,
Billy,
super
you
close.
take the point, my friend. Danielle, any other thoughts, mentions?
Yeah, we had some good. Someone recommended Rob Mcelhenney, which I think isn't. I don't know if he's ever done animation, but that could be interesting. Edgar Wright, Robert Zemeckis, Joe Dante, who also did Small Soldiers,
And the Burbs.
and The Burbs.
And Gremlins.
And someone, Chewbacca Depends on Twitter, says David Cronenberg. I think there's like a whole thread.
Where you
should
turn
check.
into a Funko.
Yeah, body horror was
Yeah.
what it was
I like
pitched.
that.
And then Nolan Dean27 on Twitter says, this is a weird take, but the thing about all Funkos is the simple design with the symmetrical facial expressions and the high detail around it. And that, when at its best, is colorful and fun to look at. I'm going with Wes Anderson for the Funko movie. I thought that was kind of an interesting out-the-box
Interesting. Cool. So after two questions, it's Billy won, Ace won, Cameron
Not doing well. Not doing very well right now.
your closing argument there. That was gold, man.
It swayed
Would have
me.
had my vote.
Yeah. But you're looking to tie it up and get on the board here with question number 3. Aquaman. It's now the highest grossing DC superhero movie of all time. What DC character should team up with Aquaman a la Tony Stark in Spider-Man for an Aquaman bump? So who should team up with Aquaman? What DC superhero? Ooh, that's a fun one. And let's start off with player number 3, Mr. Billy Biz.
Sure. Do you want me to give my mini pitch for what I think this movie would be? Or just say the name of the character and go from there?
You know what? Why don't you let's do it that way. Let everybody say the name of your character, and then yeah,
Sure.
Why not?
So I'm gonna go with, I think Dick Grayson's Nightwing would benefit the most from having a little Justice League Aquaman rub.
Nice. Dick Grayson's Nightwing. We saw a picture of him right there. Cool. Around to Cameron.
I'm going with Blue Beetle, specifically the current iteration of Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes.
Jaime Reyes' incarnation of Blue Beetle. And then Ace.
Are we just saying the character?
I never had to fight you so hard.
Idiot!
How could you pick him?
I'm going with my homie, the Martian Manhunter, John Jones.
Yeah.
Cool.
Martian Manhunter. Okay. Let's fight it out.
So
Here we go.
let me give you my quick elevator pitch of why I think. So I think that the reason why Tony Stark was used effectively in Spider-Man Homecoming is not because he aided in the origin story of Peter Parker. It's because he aided to the story that was being told about Peter Parker. So I think for me with Nightwing, I don't really, what I see with Nightwing is a story about Dick Grayson. He's now left Batman. And I think you have a hero who doesn't really know, am I a hero because I had Bruce Wayne's money? Am I a hero because I was part of the Bat family? I don't know what it means to be a hero on my own. I don't know, am I supposed to be like dark and mean like Batman? Am I lighter? I don't know who I am. And I think that he tackles a case that has to do with where he needs a little help. And I think he goes to Aquaman as more of a mentor, like, hey, maybe it's like poisoning the water or something.
Right.
But I think he goes to Aquaman like, hey, I need your help. And Aquaman, he's like, you have an army, you have your big trident, that's what gives you your power. I need your power, I need your help with this. And he's like, no, you need to figure this one out on your own. And I think it turns out that Aquaman is the one that's like, hey, Bruce told me to kind of keep an eye on you. And he's the one that's telling Aquaman, like, that's kind of this like telephone game of how Batman's doing and everything. And I think he explains to Nightwing, like, look, I was just a guy. I didn't want anything to do with this, but I chose to do the right thing. It doesn't matter if I have my trident. It doesn't matter if you have all of Bruce's tech. You're a hero just being who you are. Like, I'm not a king because of this trident. And I think at the end of the movie, that's kind of like your little Easter eggs thing, is like, you see Arthur at the end telling Batman, like, I think he's going to be okay. I think you taught him well. And I think that's how you use Aquaman. You don't use him as a tag team partner. I think you use him as kind of a vessel for an arc for Dick.
Something I really liked about Aquaman was, Aquaman is $1 billion movie, and regardless of what people thought about it, I personally love the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. And that's what I want to see in an Aquaman movie. I want to see who can bring a different dynamic with Aquaman, and I think who better personality-wise than the Martian Manhunter, someone who's known for being very stoic, for being very humorless, almost like an oddball couple to this crazy, over-the-top Jason Momoa Aquaman. I think that dynamic, that oddball, that odd couple dynamic between the two would be the best part of this movie. Not just that, but something that I really enjoyed of Aquaman, and I think everyone can take away from it, was the incredible visual effects. In fact, I think it was snubbed for the Oscar visual effects, because I think it looked incredible. And what better to take the power dynamics of a Martian Manhunter, someone who can shapeshift, someone who can do telepathy. I want to see what James Wan can do with the power set visually with the Martian Manhunter. So personality-wise, I think they create an incredible dynamic. And power-wise, I think we can see some crazy monster battles with the Martian Manhunter shapeshifting into giant sea creatures and joining in with Aquaman. I think that's the kind of fun that we want to see as a follow-up to a $1 billion movie. I don't think we should scale it back. I think we should just give in more into that.
Interesting. So for me, what I liked about Tony Stark was in that Spider-Man movie was that it wasn't Tony's movie. There was concern when that was coming out, like, will this just be Tony's movie featuring Spider-Man? And I would like to take a similar approach where this is the Blue Beetle movie because it's about the Aquaman bump. It's about, hey, featuring this character, here's another character. Everyone knows who Spider-Man is, but at the very least, here's a character who you're not super familiar with, but this other bigger dude is in this. So the story about Jaime Reyes is he gets the Blue Beetle scarab, and it's not necessarily by choice. He is kind of, this power is thrusted upon him. And there's two different origins now. There was the pre-52 and post-52, whether it's magic or alien, all that stuff. That's all complicated. We don't need to get into that in the movie, but the fact of the matter is he now has this power set. He lives in Texas, which is pretty far away from some oceans, which I think would make this fun. It's a fish out of water story. You're not quite doing the Thor thing, but the fact of my idea is Aquaman is sent to recruit Blue Beetle. And throughout the whole thing, Blue Beetle's like, I don't want anything to do with this. I didn't want these powers. This is not something I wanted. I just want to go to high school. And I think you can have some fun comedic moments. It's almost like Aquaman just continues to follow Blue Beetle around, trying to recruit him. It's almost like Ghost if everyone could see Patrick Swayze. And Whoopi Goldberg's just like, leave me alone. And finally, the Black Beetle, who's Blue Beetle's nemesis, shows up and tries destroying this small Texas town. And that's where you do get the fun action scenes of Aquaman helping Blue Beetle and trying to be like, isn't this awesome, bro? And Blue Beetle's like, no, it's not. I don't want a part of this. And you don't want to do that too long. And eventually you do have to have that point of this is what you need to be doing. It's the responsible thing to do. Blue Beetle does come into his own. It gives us that teenage character, and throughout the whole movie, peppering in this like, we're recruiting you. You think it's going to be the Justice League, and at the very end, Blue Beetle's ready to be Blue Beetle and says, "I'm ready to join Justice League," and Aquaman goes, "You're a little too young for that, man." Cut to Seattle, backdoor Teen Titans movie.
So here's what I have to say about this, and this is why I wanted to say, like, I think what made Tony Stark's appearance in Spider-Man Homecoming work so well is that we did already know how Peter Parker was Spider-Man. And I know you glossed over it very fast, like, oh, it's very confusing, but it's like, for most people, they don't know who Blue Beetle is. And I think,
no, and there's a simplification way. They just have to decide, is it the magic or the aliens?
I know, but I think that either way you go, that's an interesting story, and I feel like to take away from the origin story of Blue Beetle...
Oh, yeah.
That's literally what I'm going to say, dude. I'm not... As one of the few Latino characters, because there's like no
100%.
Latin characters as far as superheroes go, and Blue Beetle is one of the few characters that's actually a Latino character. Are we really going to make him like a sidekick to Aquaman?
No, not at all. No, that's why.
Let's give Blue Beetle his own movie. I love Blue Beetle. I love the character Jaime Reyes, El Paso, Texas. That's where I'm from.
He's a great character.
That should be its own movie. I think what makes Aquaman Aquaman is $1 billion movie. People love it. We want to see an addition to Aquaman. We want to see Aquaman team up with someone that doesn't take away his shine. That's why I think a Martian Manhunter can bring in that spectacle and that humor. I love the dynamic of a Martian Manhunter with humor. My issue with Nightwing, too, is that doesn't feel like it matches up world-wise. I just don't see how Nightwing is going to fit with anything having to do with Atlantis, number one. And number two, as far as Batman goes, I think that's going to be confusing for audiences. Like, whose Nightwing is this to? Which Batman is he referring to? Is it this Batman? Is it the other Batman? I think it's way too confusing for audiences.
I also think that we're moving into a period of DC where we can be a little bit more fast and loose. Like, we don't have to be like, okay, well, then if it's this, it's got to be this continuity. But I also think you keep talking about the visual spectacle and everything. Yeah, I think Martian Manhunter already has that. And I think that when you add Aquaman to mine, you can open up the world a little bit. It's not just, and I think that's an important thing for Dick to realize, like, this world is so much bigger than just your little pocket of the city. But I think with Martian Manhunter, and I love Martian Manhunter, I think that's a great character, and I think he's being used properly in something like Supergirl, where he is more of the mentor role. I don't think you need to add an Aquaman to anything Martian Manhunter to up the wow factor. Martian Manhunters, he's got it already. You don't need the Aquaman bump there. I think for yours, I
want to make it clear, I'm not trying to gloss over in the movie. My idea is you spend most of the time with Jaime and his family in this small Texas town.
That's not an Aquaman.
But
that's just
no, it's a bump.
But
I think he's in there as a recruiter.
This is the
Tony
same.
Stark. How long is Tony Stark in that Spider-Man movie? 10 minutes.
Yeah, not a ton of screen time.
But that's a character that we know, and so is Spider-Man, a character that we know. Versus Jaime Reyes. Jaime Reyes deserves his own movie. He doesn't need to be paired up with a character that we already know with Aquaman, who $1 billion movie. So many people from around the world know Aquaman.
But that's
now,
the point of a bump.
The
point of a bump is to, hey, this person is in here, so now you're definitely going to go see this other person's movie who you might not have heard of.
This is the reason why we're not going to most likely not have like Superman or Wonder Woman showing up in Shazam, because we need to invest in that character first. We need to learn about that character before we can start giving them the bump. We already got a little bit of Peter Parker in Civil War before we even got to his own movie. And like I said, that just had the benefit of everybody knows that story. We don't need to do it all over again.
Well, then my question would be, does everyone, truly, beyond this room and the internet, does everyone truly know Nightwing? I think, like, or are you bogging down the first 20 minutes of your movie? And same with Martian Manhunter a little bit.
I would say everyone knows who Dick Grayson is.
Yes.
And I think the story of Dick Grayson being a part of the Bat family and leaving that's a story that, okay, even if I don't know who Nightwing is and I don't know his history, I understand he was Robin. I understand now he's trying to do his own thing. That's
Billy, roll this into your final thoughts.
I think that's an easily relatable thing for the audience to pick up on. I think also that Aquaman is going to work best when it can A, open up the world, and B, push that character forward in their story. I think this idea that Aquaman, having been a reluctant hero a little bit of himself and going after the Trident, and what does it mean to be a hero? What does it mean to have this power? I think he can be the one that really imparts that lesson in Dick of, hey, like, look, you don't have to be mean like Batman. You don't have to have his tech. You do you because the hero is inside of you. I think that's a good message. I think that's something that Aquaman, you can bring in a little bit of the Atlantis spectacle to open it up. Whereas Martian Manhunter, like I said, I see him as more of a mentor for somebody else. I see his movie being, again, another origin story where we need to kind of figure out what happened to him and his family. And I think the spectacle's already there. I don't think adding Aquaman is going to benefit that movie that much. With yours, I think it's just not time yet. The world needs to hear Jaime Reyes' story first, and that story is compelling enough that it shouldn't have any interference from any other DC comic character.
Thank you, Billy. Around the horn to Cameron.
To me, I think the reason I wanted to include Aquaman in the Jaime Reyes is origin story, and again, more as a recruiting, more as a come along with me. It's the mirror version of, say, something like Unforgiven, where the person goes to the person's house and goes, you need to come on this journey. But that movie's not about the blonde kid from Unforgiven. It's about Clint Eastwood. The movie would still be about Jaime. It's about having a bump, not about being a co-star. I think my movie's also just, it's simpler. The kid in Texas gets powers is a simple story. I think both these movies, you have to go into a 20-minute plot diatribe about the white Martians and the green Martians and fire and all this other stuff. And now the movie starts. And this is Dick Grayson. He was Robin's, not this Robin. Now he's Nightwing. And now the movie can start. I feel you can open my movie, small Texas town, and I think immediately people would go, this is a superhero movie, and it's interesting and different, and you are learning the story of Jaime, his family, this small Texas town. And Aquaman's just a fun character that pops in and out. He's not the main character.
Thanks, Cameron. Ace?
I think Aquaman obviously has proven to people that it's an incredibly popular movie. James Wan delivered a $1 billion movie. It's the biggest DC movie we've seen so far. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that has international appeal, that has global appeal. People in China love this movie. What people loved about it was the heart, the humor, and the visual spectacle. Aquaman brought so much charm, brought so much fun. And I think someone like a Martian Manhunter can deliver that, not just the crazy visual spectacle that people all around the world can enjoy, but also the humor, the stoicness. I think the Martian Manhunter is best used as a supporting character versus these two characters can have their own movies and need more explanation. Also, Atlantis. Atlantis is a character in Aquaman, and I don't know how a Nightwing fits into Atlantis, and I don't know how a Jaime Reyes fits into Atlantis. I can see a Martian Manhunter fitting into Atlantis with his power dynamic, with his background, and with a story that can involve both of them as far as Martian Manhunter giving more screen time to Aquaman and giving more interactions with humorous effect, and that dynamic between a crazy over-the-top Jason Momoa, now king of Atlantis, leading his army against an alien invasion that the Martian Manhunter has come down to Atlantis to face off with him. Something like that can bring in so many fans that Aquaman can enjoy, and not a side character as in other movies.
Ring-a-ding-ding, that's time for round 3. Dan, where are we at with facts?
I mean, the pitches are all pretty much just off the top of their head. There was one question of how much screen time Iron Man had in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes, sir.
Estimates are about 8 minutes.
Oh.
About 8 minutes of screen time, and reportedly Robert Downey Jr. took home about $10 million. So that's more than a million a minute.
Wow,
Not bad.
that's over $1 million a minute.
Not a bad going rate.
Not bad.
There you go. That's all I got for you.
Man,
factually.
I can't get over that number. I am dumbfounded by that number.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. So these were all great pitches. I really liked what everybody painted here. I thought there was interesting incorporation here, and I thought you took us on a journey. I think Martian Manhunter. I really love just the idea of the differing personalities. I like you involving more of the Justice League in there, Billy, just like with Aquaman checking in with Batman at the end. And Cameron, I feel like they got some dings on you with saying that they want the Blue Beetle story, but I thought you countered well with the Tony Stark argument, just being that, and that is part of the question here, and I don't know if I'm being too literal, but that really started to resonate with me, because it felt like we were going to get Jaime's full story here, and Aquaman would be a side dish in that story and help him into the greater superhero universe, but we'd still tell that character's story. So that one started I felt like you parried that attack, and otherwise I felt like you came out of it pretty clean with the most interesting story in my book, and that's the one I wanted to see most. So I'm going with Cameron and Blue Beetle. Dan?
I went a little bit differently, and
Yeah.
everybody had a good hold on their story, and I thought that everyone pitched really well. So I just was kind of putting myself in the position of the studio executive listening to it. And for me, the one that tracked the best was Aces, just in the sense of, like, even though I agree Cameron fought back a lot of the negatives against his story very well, like, just as a viewer, I'm still like, but how does Aquaman really fit here? And I thought that Ace really cracked the code of, like, yes, Aquaman is in the movie, but how does he fit in the movie? And I thought that the Martian Manhunter angle with the aliens, that bringing in Atlantis, that was the best fusion of the two characters that I heard. And so I'm going with Ace.
All right, Danielle, it comes down to you.
Okay, so the poll right now is at 36% for Nightwing, 33% for Blue Beetle, and 29% for the Martian Manhunter.
All right, so that means that you will chime in with your own opinion to decide the question.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. They were all really good arguments. I'm going to go with Ace. I thought that Ace had a really solid argument. Stick with Ace.
Great. And were there any other... so, Ace, you get the point on that one. Danielle, were there any other mentions on Twitter or what have you for potential choices?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people said The Flash. We got two types of Green Lantern, either Guy Gardner or Jon Stewart, both wildly different movies. A lot of Swamp Thing, Shazam, just a lot of Nightwing thirst. Just a lot of Nightwing thirst. And then this one, which will never happen, but I just like that it was brought up. Road Raider 3 said, all right, stay with me here. Aquaman takes care of the sea, but his teammate needs to be the master of the land or be land. Danny the Street, make it happen. Danny the Street is a character from Doom Patrol. He is actually a street. And he'll just, like, you'll be walking down the street and then all of a sudden you'll realize you're on Danny. And he communicates using, like, shop signs and you know, road markers and things like that.
Oh, that's super fun.
It's super fun and incredibly charming, and I just want more people to know who Danny the Street is.
Right on. Thank you, Danielle. So the speed round is set. It's going to be Ace versus Billy. Cameron, you fought valiantly, but you will be on the sidelines for this one. But maybe I'll come to you for an opinion, etc.
Cool.
Gentlemen, are you ready to throw down?
Let's do it.
Let's do this. Okay, speed round works thusly. I'll throw out the question, and then just shout out your answer. First one we hear, you'll have the chance to elaborate on your question first. It'll be 20 seconds, and then back around for 10-second rebuttal, 10-second rebuttal. Right now the score stands 2 for Ace, 1 for Billy. First player to 4 points wins. Here we go. Question 1 of the speed round. After James Gunn, who's the next sorry, I'm going to start that one all over.
Who's fired next?
I hope everyone stays employed. After James Gunn, who's the next MCU filmmaker who should take on a DC property?
So read it one more time, sorry.
After James Gunn, who's the next MCU filmmaker who should take on a DC property?
Taika Waititi.
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler, Taika Waititi. We heard Taika first. 20 seconds begin for Ace as soon as you speak.
Taika Waititi brought us one of the most charming, likable, fun, fast-paced Marvel movies, and that is Thor Ragnarok. He brought Thor back from the dead right when we thought Thor was just going to be a boring character. I can see him doing an amazing Booster Gold movie that people have been wanting to see. He brings that heart, he brings that humor, so many things that can be coming at you at the screen so quickly. Taika Waititi can bring that, and he brings his own charm.
I think one of the strengths that DC has right now, especially with Aquaman, is building worlds that we haven't seen before, and that's exactly what Ryan Coogler brings to the table. With Black Panther, he built Wakanda, this world that we had never seen before. He has this way of telling stories that we really connect with his characters. With Creed, I think you take that kind of gravitas and this imaginative...
I know exactly what Taika Waititi can bring for a Booster Gold movie. I'm not sure what Ryan Coogler can bring, and I've already seen it with his humor, and I think the humor is the best part that can be seen in a DC movie right now. We want to see humor done right.
I think if you give Ryan Coogler something like Oa with Green Lantern and you turn that space cop thing into a real how this would work and the world building of Oa, I think he could actually make it something people want to see and people relate to.
Ooh, good stuff, you guys. Let's start with Danielle Radford.
Oh, can you just for me? Can you repeat the way the question was phrased?
Absolutely. After James Gunn, who's the next MCU filmmaker who should take on a DC property?
Both of these were incredibly compelling. I have to say that right now. Like, I want to see both of these movies, but for me, I think that the Ryan Coogler argument was stronger. He really got into the world building, telling a story, connecting characters. He made me see Oa and how that would work. But man, would I ever want to see a Taika Waititi Booster Gold movie.
But you are
I'm
going
with Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, so it's one for Billy. Yeah, Ace had me. But then, Billy, that 10-second rebuttal, you won me over as well. So I am going Billy as well. I just threw my pen. I got so excited. There's another pen right here. You know what? I should do that all the time. Okay, it's so exciting. Pens are flying. Question number 2 of the speed round. We are tied at 2-2. Pete Davidson, formerly of Ariana Grande, will star in a comedy based on his life for Judd Apatow. What SNL cast member, past or present, deserves a biopic ahead of Pete Davidson?
Keenan.
Sorry?
Keenan.
Keenan, yes. Keenan Thompson, yep.
Will Ferrell.
All right. We have Keenan Thompson. We have Will Ferrell. Billy, you spoke first. 20 seconds begin when you speak now.
I think what makes Keenan so interesting is that he's been in this business for so long. I want to see how this kid when other child actors have fallen, he's managed to stay relevant his entire career. I also think that there's maybe some drama between him and Kel and SNL. I want to see all that on screen. I want to see the Keenan and Kel drama. I think he's a dude that I want to know more about because he's clearly still in the zeitgeist all these years later.
Will Ferrell is one of the most popular SNL cast members that we've had over the years, and it's because of his crazy, insane humor that people have catered to so much over the past few years. He has so many movies that people enjoy, like Step Brothers and Anchorman, and these are the types of stories that I want to hear about. Him coming up in New York, being a cast member of SNL, getting involved with the politics, with the Bush impersonation.
You name great Will Ferrell movies, and I want to see Will Ferrell in a funny movie, not a movie about how Will Ferrell's funny. Yeah, I get it. But Keenan Thompson, this is a story about how was he able to succeed as a child star actor all the way through his career when a lot of others can't.
I think Will Ferrell is not only a bigger name, but he's a name that more people want to learn about. He's a name that people can see a movie about him. Everyone can recognize the character of Will Ferrell. We can see him throughout his college years. We can see him coming up in the Hollywood business, going from New York to LA.
Time. All right. Dan Murrell.
Weep for Charles Rocket. Anyone before 2000?
I'm sorry, I thought the question was current SNL member. That's why.
Was it?
No, it was what SNL cast member, past or present.
Okay.
Well, I'd stick with my choice. I love my arguments.
Not a Gilda Radner.
Yeah, I was thinking mentally. I'm like, Gilda.
Not John Belushi. Phil Hartman.
I go Jim Belushi. What's
Keenan Thompson.
the younger brother?
Mr. Knucklepuck. I want the movie.
Not Robert Downey Jr. or Anthony Michael Hall. Okay.
Nope.
Dan.
Misheard the question.
Ellen Cleghorn would make a great
Misheard.
Underappreciated.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Misheard the question.
I am going to stick, though, I think of the two movies pitched, I think that Billy pitched a more compelling storyline, the ability to stay with it in the hard Scrabble business of show, and any Keenan and Kel beef. I'm on board with to see that
Was
played
there
out.
beef in the Good Burger?
We'll see. So I'm going to go with Billy.
All right, thanks, Dan. Danielle?
I gotta agree. They were both compelling arguments. But that I want to see Will Ferrell in a funny movie, not a movie about why Will Ferrell was funny. It was just such a knockout line. Also, yeah, I want to see Keenan and Kel. I want to see, bring me some all that.
Yeah.
Bring some of all that drama.
Right on. Okay, so Billy, you just vaulted into
So
the
sorry,
lead.
misheard the question. I will hear about this on Twitter.
Still won.
You got
People
the
are going to tell me how
point.
dumb I am.
You know,
You know what would be interesting, actually? Al Franken.
Yeah. Hey, good point. But when they say that, just point to the scoreboard. You're up 3-2. You got the point there.
Does Jeff
Question
Kennedy count as a
three.
cast
Question
member?
three. We've named a lot of SNL. Okay, question 3 of the speed round. But I appreciate the deep thoughts. The Rock will apparently not appear in Fast and Furious 9. What actor would you cast to fill the void in the ensemble?
Ja Rule.
Okay, I'm in.
Wow.
You're bringing him back.
That's a fire choice, Billy.
FY.
FYE. Ace.
I was gonna say someone, but I think he's already in the Fast franchise, or gonna be in the Fast franchise. I was gonna say Idris Elba, but I think he's already coming out. In the Fast
He's going to be in the Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
So,
So someone else. Mahershala Ali.
okay, we have Ja Rule. We have Mahershala Ali.
You broke her.
Follow me on this.
Okay. 20 seconds we give Billy when you speak.
Oh, boy. This will all be worth it if I don't get this point, by the way. Look, Ja Rule has already been part of this franchise. He's the only guy that never came back. I think with The Rock's not there, you don't need so much something in the movie. You need the buzz around the movie. That's what Fast 8 was missing. So I think Ja Rule reprising his character, everyone's like, wait a second, Ja Rule, he's going to be the villain, right? I want to see Ja Rule in this movie. He's already got the heat behind him. We're already talking about it. I already broke her.
That's the name of his song.
I already broke her. I think the biggest takeaway that people have from the Fire Festival, besides Billy, is Ja Rule being a monster. He was evil. He's horrible. I don't want to see him in a movie. I want to see an actor like Mahershala Ali who brings gravitas, who brings strength, who brings Oscar pedigree into an over-the-top action franchise like a Fast and Furious movie. I think Mahershala can bring charm, can bring joy. He can be a great villain. That's the kind of person I want to see in a movie.
Oscar Charm, Prestige. We got Helen Mirren. We got the bad guy from the last one. They were all boring. Give me someone with the rah-rah charisma like The Rock. Give me someone who's gonna get people talking about this movie. Give me Ja Rule.
You're his agent.
Get him on the phone. I think Ja Rule has proven that not only he's not a great actor, he's not a great person, he's not a great human being. I don't want to see that in a movie. I want to see someone who brings so much joy into being a villain, someone who brings Oscar pedigree, someone like Mahershala Ali.
Ooh, okay. Man. I got to give it to Billy for the funniest answer, but for the best answer, I got to go with Ace.
My logic tracks.
Ace has it for me. Danielle?
I have to go with Ja Rule.
Okay. It's 1-1.
This is gonna be your game point.
Danielle is biased because she does have a magnesis card.
Dude, when you put it down, it goes plunk.
If you haven't watched those Firefest documentaries, watch them all right after this. They're so good.
That's his second song.
It's just crazy. Dan, comes down to you on this.
The question was,
Oh, and by the way, this is game point. I should have
is
said
game
that
point,
earlier.
yeah.
It is game point for Billy.
who should fill the void in the cast? Not who's the best person. And Billy pitched a hell of a compelling reason that people would be talking about this movie, would be wondering what he's doing back. Is he a villain? He's the only one that never came back.
Yeah, buddy.
I feel so bad for the people that got ripped off, but I gotta vote for Ja Rule too.
It's Ja
You
Rule.
just won movie fights on the strength of Ja Rule. Wow. What an epic throwdown.
a better point is you just lost movie fights to a Ja Rule argument.
That's my true, Ace. Billy, well played, good sir. You know what? You staged a furious comeback, and
I just
want to
say, I dedicate this win to you, Ed Greer. That one's for you, sitting on the couch sick right now. Representing you, buddy.
Nicely
Ja
done.
Rule.
Nicely done.
Dedicated to Ja Rule.
Billy, thank you for shouting out Ed. Ed, feel better. Get well soon. Anything else you want to shout out or?
I just want to shout out these gents. I heard some of the most compelling closing arguments. Two of the nicest competitors. I had a great time, so
Thanks,
I don't want
man.
to take any time on me. I want you guys to do you. Plug
Hell
you.
yeah, but I'll second that. They did not make these choices easy on any of us. So, yeah, but Billy, congrats. Well played, brother. Ace, nicely done. You fought just kick-ass arguments all the way through.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, how does it feel to lose to someone who
I
defrauded
lost
people for millions?
To a Ja Rule argument. I can't believe that.
Allegedly.
I thought I had it with the he's not an actor one, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Only half the cast of the Fast and
That's
Furious
true.
movies are actors, really. When you break it down.
Tyrese, ludicrous.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Squad Leader Ace, and check out my new YouTube channel. It's called First Cut. That's where our podcast, The Meaning Of, is going up now. My buddy RB3 and I have director discussions, so we talk about our favorite director that week and kind of go into their filmography. It's great if you're a movie fan, if you're a movie lover, go check it out. Give us some love on First Cut.
Very cool. Ace, well played today. Thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks, man.
Cameron, great answers all around.
A resounding zero.
It happens. It happens.
I know.
Yeah. Please go ahead and shout out some stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on twitter.com/JurassicAlien. I have a show over at HyperRPG on Tuesday nights. That's twitch.tv/HyperRPG. And also go check out my photo Instagram. It's Cam Rice Photo. I got taking photos of people working here.
You are
JTE's dog.
Yeah, you're great. You're quite the shutterbug, and you take some
trying.
great pics. So
Yeah, I'm trying.
I second that. What's the Instagram again?
Cam Rice Photo.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Dan Murrell, thank you for holding it down on the facts. Always a reassuring feeling to have your nimble fingers on the fact check.
I do my best, Hal.
Yes. Any thoughts or any shout outs or anything?
No, just thanks for watching.
Heck
and, yeah, this is fun. It's a fun show. I like to do it.
Absolutely. Danielle Radford, I just your laugh, it brings joy. So just thank you for being an awesome person. Please go ahead and shout out or whatever.
Follow me on Twitter at Danielle Radford. Follow me on Instagram at Danielle_Radford. If you like wrestling, I have a wrestling podcast on the Max Fun Network called Tights and Fights. It comes out every Thursday. Follow me for, I guess, my new podcast, I Love Ja Rule. Where are my Ja Rulians at? And,
Jeruligans.
that's it. That's all I got.
You talk about Scary Movie 3 and 4.
I want to thank you for watching. You can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Hal Rudnick. And I want to once again say thanks for watching. Hashtag Owl Nation. Percival's in the house. Hoot hoot. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Billy Biz. Double duty, fighting and producing. Thank you, JTE in the booth. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.